Hello everyone, welcome to another important policy-based video actually. The topic of discussion for this video is actually going to be something I find pretty important um, to really the future of American families, and that is really legalization of marijuana um, and other drugs which some people have proposed. Now, among a lot of right-wing populists, a lot of people just don't know what their position is, because like a lot of them are still like libertarian on social issues. They're not like more authoritarian leaning. They're kind of more libertarian on some stuff. But in this video, I will be convincing people to abandon that more libertarian-esque position and to um, not support the legalization of marijuana or other drugs. Um, Authentic right wing populists, or like more people that are like more informed, despise legalization of drugs like marijuana as well as other substances. This is really just for several reasons, as drugs undermine the nuclear family, decrease cognitive activity among the youth, and at the end of the day, really just benefits the neoliberal ruling class, um, which is obviously has dominant power over American society. You can see it in our schools, our institutions, etc. Um, the reason why the neoliberal ruling class really benefits from this is because they're able to basically soften younger men who could possibly lead an armed revolution against them. I'm not saying that's even like a possibility, but it is definitely something that they should be scared of. Throughout history, change has been induced in society, like revolutions, because of young men. You saw this in the French Revolution in 1789. Later, you had Napoleon as well. Uh, you saw this later on with in Russia. The revolution was mainly led by the younger, active communist partisans. But yeah, they're worried about their power, of course. They don't necessarily care for like the nuclear family and the well-being of middle class Americans. So that's why the neoliberals you've begun to see this, where they are basically supporting legalization of like marijuana. Um, but yeah, the reason why they just want this is that you know they're scared of young men possibly leading a revolution that would remove them from power. Of course, as I said, the neoliberals don't really care about the nuclear family. They don't find them as necessary to like their power, so they'll be fine with its disintegration. And of course, their need for power overrides their duty to Americans to serve their best interests. Additionally, legalizing marijuana and other drugs that left wing progressives want legalized, as well as libertarians, it really just leads to, this is another important thing, it leads to large pharmaceutical companies taking advantage of this and making monopolies in these new industries. And what happens is this becomes widely distributed among the population, and it'll really, while people are getting high, making, they're not creating families and being productive in society. They're really just being um, complete tools to the ruling class. And of course, as seen, legalizing marijuana or really any other drug does not have any net benefit positive for the middle class in the United States. In fact, it actually has very terrible effects, as I just discussed. We already have an opioid crisis in the United States, and it's gonna get worse if you don't even have people getting. If it's not even a criminal act anymore, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have so many more people just getting high and acting like complete morons. Decreasing cognitive activity. They're not gonna form families. It's gonna be a disaster. And of course, I don't need. I just one more time. This only benefits the ruling class. Well, now you say, who supports legalization of marijuana and other drugs? Well, I have an example here. Um, Bernie Sanders supported the legalization of marijuana in his 2020 and I believe 2016 presidential run. Kyle Kalinske, he kind of takes that to a whole nother level. He actually wants pretty much all drugs legalized. He doesn't want them to be a criminal offense at all. Now that's one of his more libertarian policy points, which I completely disagree with. And you see this with right wing libertarians as well. And you have, yeah, pretty much every member of like, I mean, for fuck's sakes, I mean, they literally I mean, libertarians. I saw this. Pretty sure you guys have seen this clip before, but Gary Johnson basically said like, "Oh, I'd be fine like with driver's licenses or whatever" in the libertarian presidential debate. Literally the entire, like, probably like 75% of the crowd booed him. like, yeah, it's just for even driver's licenses. Oh my god, that's like something else. And if you even, oh god, not even like talking about concerning drugs, all the negative effects I just previously discussed, they'll be amplified by times 1,000. Oh my god, it won't even be normal. Another negative thing that would happen is that you'd basically have the emergence of these drug cartels, as well. They'd kind of like want to compete in the market against the pharmaceutical companies, and that could be a problem. Now, I think that many people watching this video have realized this, but of course, as I just said, the Democratic progressives like Bernie Sanders and Kyle Kalinske, they're really just tools for the neoliberal ruling class, and in the end, they always cave to the neoliberals. It doesn't even matter. Um, Now you've also seen like neoliberal governors. Phil Murphy, I think his name is in New Jersey. I think New Jersey just recently legalized weed. Oregon did as well, and New York State is also planning on doing that. But they have like some sort of plan where they're gonna have like each county in the state decide whether or not to like sign on to the drug marijuana legalization. Now, something the neoliberal ruling establishment realizes is that they can just use drug legalization to their advantage. Like, oh, we want people to be free; they can do whatever they want. Meanwhile, of course, a lot of people are stupid, and you can't really just leave people to their own devices. That's why governments exist in the first place, because if there's no higher authority governing people, who are they subject to? A lot of people are not believers in God. They don't really have like any. They may have like some set moral code. I'm not saying that you have to be to you can only to be moral. You have to be like religious or overly religious or whatever. But yeah. Anyways, uh, they see it as like, oh, they'll be free. They'll be free. They'll be free. Oh, damn it. The cops are arresting the blacks in New York City because they possess illegal drugs. God, we gotta stop that. That also kind of ties in with the identity politics stuff, as well as if, like, literally anything neoliberal support is somehow tied to, like, helping blacks and indigenous people of color. Haha. That's like the stock neoliberal mindset. Now, I think, and one thing I have to finish saying about the Democratic progressives is that this issue really kind of just reveals it's one of those issues that really just shows how they're just tools for the ruling class, and they don't really want change in society. Um, it's really just complete nonsense. Anyways, And it's not even just like these supposed left-wing populists on the left that support this effort, but sadly enough, as I said earlier in this video, there are some supposed right-wing populists who do support the legalization of marijuana. Now, this is actually where I'm going to get into the main reason why I made this video, and it is actually a certain tweet by Real American Politics. Now, I've discussed Real American Politics in a previous video about he's, basically like one of those Trump or die people. Like, he'll choose Trump over like anything. It's like, it's you support Trump or you're dead. Like, that's really it. They demand like automatic loyalty to Emperor Blumph. Anyways, he said in this tweet, which I find it's a very short tweet, but I find it really hilarious. He said, it was 2 days ago. I remember seeing this tweet. I was like, what? He said, I support legalizing marijuana. Okay. But then he adds right after that, to an extent. What? What do you mean to an extent? How do you legalize something to an extent? I've heard him say like in the past he's like said like, oh, to an extent or whatever, to like, because it really just shows he's kind of like indecisive on the issue. But you could see it a certain way. But anyways, I quote retweeted him, and I was basically asking like, oh, what do you mean even? And he didn't respond, of course. Someone actually replied to the tweet directly, and they also asked, what do you mean to an extent? No answer again, of course. Now, it doesn't look like we're really going to truly know, since he never elaborated his position. He didn't make up like any follow-up tweet. This was kind of just like a dip and a dive. Yeah, I've seen this like from others. Like they take a point on an issue, but like any questions that are asked, they kind of just like, oh, whatever, kind of just ignore it. Anyways, this is really an issue. Support. Oh yeah, to an extent. Sorry. I'm sorry. He supports legalizing marijuana to an extent. Really, I think he does actually support legalizing marijuana. To be honest, I think he might have been smoking marijuana when he was writing this tweet. Just a joke. Don't take that seriously. Anyways, the thing about Real American Politics is he's like, me. I'm like this right-wing populist or whatever. Meanwhile, he literally supports like libertarian proposals. He fails on many fronts, like on tax code. He said he wanted a flat tax. They said he wanted a land tax, which was a disaster. He never elaborated on that, but that's something else. Anyways, he has like the occasional good take, but really there's a lot of holes in his rhetoric that undermine his own like political classification of himself, like this like America first, Trump Republican. Oh, I think he registered as an independent as well, which is kind of hilarious because you can't vote in Republican primaries, and he's been like talking about that. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't serious. I'm not sure. I mean, I have like no evidence that he even did it. I have no evidence that he yeah. I just have no evidence for that. But that doesn't matter anyways. Anyways, like like the fake populist talking points, like, oh my god, you lost all your jobs and I'm not going to do anything about it. Haha, that's basically what it is in the end. That's kind of like what Trump did in 2016. But the thing is, he like claims to, I think he said like he posted a proposals tweet earlier, probably like a month ago maybe, and he said like, oh, unlike the support of the nuclear family, which, as I just discussed, legalizing marijuana is very detrimental to the nuclear family, and it really hurts regular people overall. It only benefits a select few, as I said, the ruling class, who are in with the pharmaceutical companies. So it's kind of like a connected network. Um, anyways, the position of legalizing marijuana or any other drugs is not a populist position whatsoever. As I just said, it undermines the people like populists claim to represent, and that's really just terrible. I don't like being like extremely rude to people. Like, oh, you're an idiot. You have the wrong point. The thing is, I'm convinced that people can change their views as I have changed my views over time. And I'm confident, I think most people, I think at heart, are rational, except for some. Not everyone is a very rational person. Um, anyways, uh, as I'll start to conclude, if a nationwide marijuana legalization were to happen, which I severely doubt that would happen, like within the next 10, 15 years, maybe it could. God, that'd be a nightmare. Um, if that were to ever get passed, that would be like, oh my god, I would. If I were like ever president, I would immediately rescind that, as if it hadn't already been rescinded already. It might actually be the reason why I come to power. Anyways, yeah, as I said earlier, there's a lot of positions, like people that call themselves populists, take not take necessarily, but they kind of sometimes they indirectly support it. Like they support Trump, who isn't really a populist. He just has populist rhetoric. But he did like some good things on immigration. I'm not gonna say Trump was like completely bad, but he did feel short on many fronts. Anyways, yeah, there's a lot of positions like so-called populists like to support when it undermines their main like voter constituency they're appealing to. Anyways, I don't have any personal vendetta against like any of these people, like Kyle Kalinske or Bernie Sanders or Real American Politics for that matter, and others. I just think that people need to be informed of what policies they support actually cause in society, because a lot of things are just they're not simple on the surface. Like on the surface, like yeah, I'm gonna give people freedom because they can get high and do whatever they want. Well, you also had to look at long-term effects. You can't just look at stuff like that. You have to look at the formation of that hurting the formation of families, and it can also hurt people's cognitive activity, which is like again the last thing we need in the United States, as basically our people of our education system is already a joke. I mean, I don't think we need to. I don't think we want it to get any worse than this. It's been pretty terrible for quite a long time actually. Yeah, I want this video is mainly just meant to change people's position on this issue. I find it pretty important because it has to do with actually our voting base that we're attempting to appeal to. So we really have to keep that secure in terms of like our positions and how what we know those effects of the policies we support actually are. And I want, and this is ties into something else with. I want all people, all right wing populists, to be united behind a single group or person, so we can actually install a new ruling class and get rid of the neoliberals, and we can actually have a society that benefits the middle class, not the top 1% and others. And we're gonna do it for our working class or middle class constituency, not for our own personal power. That's something that's very important. Anyways, I will begin to conclude this video. I hope you enjoyed. I think this is a pretty important issue to discuss, as I've said. as I think that if we take the correct position on this issue, then we will actually be so much better. Because if you're supporting the, as I said, the legalization of marijuana, you're undermining the nuclear family and people's ability to function in proper society. It enriches the corporations and benefits the ruling class. It's like there's so many bad effects from this. It's like there's no reason to support this. There's no net positive for people. I've noticed is this like actually gonna help people? It's not. That's the thing. Like policies are they're meant to help the majority of the country. This doesn't benefit the majority of the country at all. Not even close. It benefits the top 1% who control society. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, like and subscribe for more. Share it with others so they can become so they're red pilled on this issue. I think it is something important to discuss. Anyways, if you guys have any comments or you want to debate something in the comments about anything I said, then yeah, of course you're welcome to do that. And of course, have an excellent day, and I will see you in the next video. Farewell, everyone.